Spiders back. I know I get on a rank. Yeah, they all got to go, all of them. We need, I mean, this carbon tax got to go too. We're in serious, serious trouble. And by the way, nothing's going to happen with Touchdown Atlantic, you know, this year, July 29th. I hope it goes over well. I got tickets on the 40-yard line, but it's not sold out, and I don't know if it will be. I hope it will be, but nothing's going to happen with a franchise here. There's not going to be a 10 CFL franchise here. There's no way. Our city is it's radically run by socialists, communists, and they're destroying our city. That's what they're interested in, and it's so corrupt. They even got in the budget with the drug tent cities, and they even got money that they're taxing property owners in their budget on it. And they're giving them drugs, and they're giving them tents, and they're giving them food, and they're giving them money and cell phone. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what's going on. So you think we're going to have a CFL franchise? And this city's become very unsafe. How beautiful this city was and could be. It's become very unsafe, and there's no justice system here. There's maniacs on the road speeding like crazy, stunt driving. There's litter all over our city. They don't care. They want to defund the police. You imagine, which they are actually. They're promoting all this corruptness and all this radical corruptness, and it's destroying Halifax. And I'm ashamed to be a Haligonian. I really am. And by the way, but I'm still going Touchdown Atlantic. I'm still going to wear my jersey, my dress up SPYDER S Reds on Roll jersey with my hat. And I hope to meet you guys and come up to me. And by the way, I want to just mention something about Eric McLeod. I think it's Eric McLeod, Mr. McLeod, I believe. I apologize if I got your first wrong name or your last name wrong. But he's my best fan, and he made a comment, and it's so true, about my last video about what I said about what's going on at SMU, with Touchdown Atlantic and a possible Atlantic 10th CFL franchise, Atlantic Schooners in Halifax, and a pop-up stadium being done in St. Mary's, and I explain why I don't believe it's possible. And he says, and I was talking with Canadian Ratio, and he said something really intelligent. Now listen to what he said, and it's so true. He said that, you imagine if SMU, the university football team, the Huskies, would have a ratio where they'd have to play all Haligonians or all Nova Scotians on their team, and they were forced to play them even if they weren't good enough. And same with all the university teams across Canada. Can you imagine? Well, that's exactly what's going on in the CFL. So even in university football at SMU and across the country, okay, they call it youth sports now. It used to be AUS and so forth, but CIS, but it's youth sports. You imagine if they had a ratio like that, where they had to have Ontario players, they had to have Albertans, and they couldn't recruit the best players. So that's exactly what's going on in the CFL. Their hands, they're handcuffed. They're dictated to the coaches and GMs. They're not allowed to recruit the best O-linemen, the best receivers, the best defensive players, the best defensive backs, the best linemen. And like, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Linebackers. Can you imagine? It's unbelievable because they're handcuffed. The CFL will not allow the best players to play. Even if they have them there, because half the team has to be guaranteed Canadian, and then 7 guaranteed starters. So now it was supposed to be 8, but now they get this ridiculous rule for the naturalized American national, where they can only play them 23% of the time. Can you imagine how ridiculous? They can't even start them. Can you imagine how ridiculous this is? Get rid of the Canadian ratio. Get rid of the Canadian Players Association and get rid of Randy and Brosey. And bring in the best rule, okay? My SPYDER CFL Reds Arm mold that was endorsed by Steve Armitage, who's done 27 great cuts to a Canadian legend, sports icon. Can you imagine? You think he doesn't know CFL 3-down football? And Rob Vanstone, who is also a sports writer icon, Regina Leader Post, now he's with Saskatchewan Rough Riders. He said SPYDER in 2021, they couldn't have written a better script for my SPYDER CFL Red Zone and why it deserves to be made part of a CFL 3-down game of football. Can you imagine? He endorsed by two very prominent sports figures like that in Canada. And Farah and Lodgy recently, okay, said if it came to a vote that he would vote to have it made part of a CFL 3-down game. He endorsed it as well. So 3 prominent Canadian sports figures. And Randy Brosey, you're not one of them. You're political, you're a liberal radical leftist, and sorry you destroyed the Edmund Eskimo's name in with Trudeau. You were involved in that whole thing. Trudeau was involved in that, trying to get votes. Okay? He's unbelievable. Same with legalizing marijuana. I don't keep people smoke marijuana, but he legalized it only to get votes. 25% more votes than people never even voted before. That's why he did it. Now people are driving everywhere, smoking dope and drinking, and so unsafe on the roads, smoking dope all over our city, everywhere you go, and in cars, speeding like crazy. No justice system, no cop cars around. It's all, this city is destroyed. It's just like the socialist radical left. The cities in the United States is nothing but crime, crime, crime. Same here. It's because of those Mayor Savage and the radical leftist communist councilors down there. You think you're going to have a CFL franchise here? You kidding me? And you destroyed the Edmund Eskimos franchise, taking away their name, and Brozy, and with Trudeau. You destroyed it. You know, and I'm speaking out, and I call a spade, at least in my. Okay, and by the way, this is all authentic. There's no green screen here, and I tell the way it is, and I don't. It's all off my tongue. Improvise. It's all off my tongue. Try to do that, okay? And I will never change, because I want to speak to you from my heart. I want to speak to you, give you the facts, the truth, okay? Everybody can have an opinion, but there's a difference when, there's real facts. And the CFL is too political, too liberal run, too political. And the Canadian ratio is too political. And it's destroying our brand of CFL 3-down football, and all these ridiculous rule changes are bringing it, and the ridiculous gimmicky little, minor little tweak, little alternation, hash mark rule and Brozy must have been really high on hash, the whole works of them, when they come up with that, because my CFL Red Zone rule blows it out of the water, blows out your hash pipe, okay, and blow your hash mark rule out of the water, okay? And what it can do is just unbelievable. It will actually eliminate the two biggest killers and their two biggest turnoff of our CFL 3-down game, okay, of football in the red zone, and that being underpinning 2-down football stops in the red zone, okay? And that being resulting in more boring, repetitive, just like the 2-and-outs, right? Boring, repetitive, okay? 2-down stops in the red zone. Same as boring, repetitive, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone that are predictable, okay? And just destroys our game because of too many repetitive 2-and-out, 2-down stops in the red zone, because they won't go for it unless they're only unless they're just on the 1-yard line. They don't go for it, even on the 2-yard line. 3 up to the 5 to the 10 to the 20, they go for it. Okay, and that's where my CFL red zone rule comes in and changes that. Okay, and remarkably eliminates the two biggest killers. Okay, two biggest turnoffs. That being 2-down football stops in the red zone, resulting in too many boring, predictable, non-eventful, distasteful, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone. Can you imagine completely gone, eliminate with my SPYDER Super red zone rule? That's exactly what it does, and that's why it will be the biggest and most innovative and the most exciting and most entertaining and the most significant new CFL rule ever dealt by CFL in the history of the CFL, and probably in all professional football, because it will put a real signature on a 3rd down and make our 3rd down powerful in the red zone. And come on, with betting, what a bet to see with my SPYDER CFL red zone rule. By the way, with my CFL diagram, the 20-yard line in red, outlined in red, and the number 20 outlined in red. Imagine the graphics that get put down. It's a moneymaker, because you could sell sponsorship tags with my SPYDER CFL red zone rule, and the betting in the red zone, whether or not they would score with SPYDER CFL red zone rule and 3rd down, it would be pushed outside the red zone. Okay, and even the CFL red zone kick from the 42, which is a challenging kick, that adds even more drama. Way better than a 10-yard, like Rob Vance said, or a 12-yard line easy chip shot field goal, my CFL red zone goal. Yeah, like 10 times, maybe 10,000 times better, probably 10,000 times better. But anyway, I'm on a roll, and I'm going to keep being on the roll, and I'm not going to stop until my CFL red zone rule is adopted by the CFL. And my ultimate goal is to have CFL fans at a CFL game that know all about my CFL red zone rule, and that's what you have to help me with. You have to get my SPYDER CFL red zone rule out there. You need to post it. You need to promote it. You need to get it exposed, because we have to have enough people. We have to get all the younger generation, all the NFL only fans, all general sports fans in Canada that know about my Spider Super Red Zone Mole, know about all the selling features, all the 10 super features and benefits, and the guaranteed 18% of 50 more touchdowns scored in the red zone. That, but by the way, Bo Mitchell, my brochure in the Grey Cup game in Calgary, the last one in Calgary, when Keith Urban played hard part time, I gave him a brochure and he zoomed right in on the guaranteed 18%. He zoomed right into it. He's blown away by it. So the CFL are silencing my CFL Red Zone Rule. But you can imagine if we get it out there and everybody knows about it, and when there's another repetitive, boring two-down football stop in the red zone, resulting in another boring, repetitive, non-eventful, predictable, and distasteful, very distasteful, easy chip shot field goal in the red zone, having everybody chant loud in the red zone in a CFL game live, "We want Spider CFL Red Zone Rule. We want Spider CFL Red Zone Rule." Can you imagine what that would do? What that would do? I can guarantee you that my Spider CFL Red Zone will be adopted by the CFL, and it'll be the biggest and most exciting rule and most entertaining rule and most significant rule ever adopted by the CFL, that would create a tremendous amount of buzz like never before around CFL three-down football and the CFL. And with that, you have to have a combo. And you have to have the best available players allowed to play in the CFL. And the Canadian ratio has to go. And the Canadian Players Association has to go. Because they don't care, and Randy Ambrosie, you don't care, because you're in bed with them. You belong to them. They don't care about the product on the CFL. They just care about their pocketbook, what they can get out of the CFL. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the fans want the best available players. And many fans have said, when they go to a CFL game, I'm not paying $75 or $65 or even $100 to go to a CFL game. That's a lot of money to watch Canadian ratio bum players only because of their passports. They said this, calling in on after post-game shows, after CFL games, on CFL radio sites, online, saying, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I go, why should I go when much better American players are sitting on the bench and not allowed to play them because of the Canadian ratio? They have to play a Canadian ratio guaranteed no lineman. They're forced to play them. They're dictated and handcuffed by the Canadian ratio, starting ratio, and half the roster has to be Canadian. Can you imagine that? And they're forced to play them, even though they have no business being on a CFL field. How does that sell CFL football? But look at all the empty seats. It doesn't sell CFL football. And your stupid hash mark rule doesn't sell CFL three-down football. The Canadian colleges, aren't even adopting it. That's what they think of it, Randy Ambrosie, you bullshitter. And it doesn't sell CFL football. But my CFL Red Zone Rule will sell CFL three-down football. And playing the best available players as a combo with my CFL Red Zone Rule will really sell CFL three-down football. And that's what the CFL needs to do. Okay? And because look what's happening because of what they're doing. I've never seen so many empty seats in my life in the CFL stadium. You think after this China virus thing, they'd be full, but it's more empty. There's more empty seats. There's more people walking away because of what you said, because of the Canadian ratio, because of their stupid hash mark rule, and because they haven't adopted my CFL Red Zone Rule, and because they don't allow the best available players to play at every position for an entire CFL game, okay? Because of the Canadian ratio, handcuffing Canadian ratio. And I'm pissed off, and you should be pissed off too. That's why you're never going to attract the younger generation fans, or all the NFL only fans in Canada. That's why they're beating the crap out of the CFL in ratings, okay? And that's why the CFL is becoming less popular, and the NFL become more popular in our country. And by the way, my CFL Red Zone Rule, okay, will gravitate and fascinate the majority of NFL only fans and the younger generation fans and all fans in general, sports fans in general in Canada. They will gravitate. They'll be fascinated, just like Steve Armstrong said. He was fascinated by my CFL Red Zone Rule, and he said it was brilliant. And he said the CFL has to realize that they're selling entertainment and excitement. He said that's exactly what my CFL Red Zone Rule will do and more. And he said also, just based on, if you go on my full latest presentation, my Spider CFL Red Zone Rule Facebook page, you'll see that what he said, Steve Armstrong said, just on the 10 super features embedded in my CFL Red Zone rule. He said that it compelled him in powerful and very key selling features, and the stunning numbers, he said, and the data, stunning data numbers. And he said my 18% guaranteed, okay, feature, you know, where it guarantees 50% more touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams with a 54.8% average touchdown scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams in a regular CFL game, CFL season, sorry, will guarantee 50 more touchdowns for a total of 200 more points. You imagine that, 50 more touchdowns, my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. You know, what do you think? What do you think, my CFL Red Zone rule? What would you rather have, my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule and see 50 more touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams for a regular CFL season, or see more boring 2-down football stops, okay? Okay? And they're very unappealing, and there's many boos because it won't go for less than 1 yard, resulting in, you know what? Seeing more boring, so that's what you want to, see more boring, predictable, non-eventful, distasteful, easy chip shot field goals, imagine, okay, in the red zone or slightly outside the red zone, depending on whether CFL, depending on where the second down stop was made in the red zone, okay? Do you want to see more of that crap? Well, that's what you're seeing right now, and that's what you're going to see unless my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule is adopted. And in order to bring the CFL up to its highest level of 3-down football with the best rule ever, my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, you have to allow the best available players to play in the CFL. And the Canadian ratio has to go starter and full roster. Maybe have a small roster, practice roster, Canadian practice roster ratio or whatever, or we have to maybe just have 5 that you can develop, okay? And then the rest of the Canadian players have to make the team on merit and on talent, and to make the roster and to make a starting position. And they got to want to play the CFL, not the NFL. And the 1-year contracts have to go. But they have to make the team just like the American players, okay? So the problem is there's not enough American players to vote against the Canadian ratio and this ridiculous 23% national American, okay, imagine, bullshit, national, what's called national American, naturalized American national, okay, which is ridiculous. And it's the only reason they didn't reduce the Canadian ratio to 5, which they wanted to, or even 4, is because of the Canadian Players Association made up of mostly Canadian players, and they have the dominant vote. They can vote what they want, not what the fans want, not what the CFL needs, and it really needs it. And it's the only way you're ever going to see the best available players playing in the CFL. It's the only way they're going to grow their fan base. And they need the best rule. And they got to bring in the most exciting and most entertaining rule. And that's my SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule. It's the most innovative too. And it's full of drama in the red zone. And it will be the biggest CFL rule ever adopted in the history of the CFL. That's a fact. Okay? And this is what they have to do if they want to grow their fan base, if they want to grow their league, if they want to fill their stadiums. And by the way, my CFL Red Zone rule will make all CFL stadiums soar and roar. Do you like that? Isn't that a good slogan? I mean, my logo is, I mean, hey, is that a great logo? And by the way, you want to hear something? I ran into St. Mary's. I want to talk about, also Mr. McLeod said about St. Mary's, about a Grey Cup game there, imagine. So I want to talk about that, what he said too. But Mr. McLeod will be interested in this, my super fan. I say I'm the SPYDER CFL Red Zone super fan. He's my super fan for my SPYDER CFL Red Zone program. Okay? But I ran into, you're not going to believe it, the St. Mary's quarterback. And I ran into a high school quarterback. And the St. Mary's quarterback is Duncan, is his name, Patterson, and he's a lefty, and he's from Bedford, and it's his last year, and he's pretty good. And they have a good coach now, Steve-O, I know, and I got to get my CFL Red Zone rule, and apparently he says he's going to, he told me to send him an email, send him my full presentation. He was blown away by my CFL Red Zone rule. He was looking at, like I was, when they're putting the makeshift stadium up at St. Mary's for touchdown landing for July 29th, coming up next month. And I told him about my rule, and he was just blown away by it. He was so captivated by it and really sold on big time. He said it would make CFL 3-down football huge. And he says, you've got to keep SPYDERs. You don't just want CFL Red Zone rule because of the younger generation fans and the teenagers and everything that watch CFL. SPYDERs, he says, is a real, very important part. He says, you've got to keep SPYDERs, especially with the Martini Y and the way your logo looks. He loved my logo. When I told him about outlining the 20-yard line in red and the numbers and went over the whole rule with him, all of it in detail. I spent about a half hour with him or more, and he was blown away. And then I ran into a high school quarterback that knows him. I told him about it, and he was so excited. He wanted me to send it to him, and he was going to make sure too, if I couldn't get it through to Duncan, that he would send a copy to him as well, because he knew him. So you imagine that. He was going to tell his father and his coach about my Spider CFL Red Zone rule. And it's exactly what Steve Armitage says I got to do, and which I'm going to do. So I want, okay, when you see me at Touchdown Atlantic, okay, and SMU, and January 29th, with my new jersey dress up, Spider CFL Red Zone rule jersey dress up on my rule, you need to come up to me. I'll give you a brochure. I want to shake your hand. I need your support. We need to start a chant. And wouldn't it be something that started at Touchdown Atlantic at SMU? We want Spider CFL Red Zone rule. We want Spider CFL Red Zone rule. I'm going to try to work on that too. I may want to try to get the ad out on the local radio station. I think I can do it. Okay, wouldn't that be something? That would be great, especially just before Touchdown Atlantic here, and everybody's coming in from Saskatchewan and Toronto and so forth. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be just super exciting? Imagine if that, imagine like 11,000 people will be there chanting loud in the red zone, we want Spider CFL Red Zone rule. Wouldn't that be fantastic? But getting back to what Mr. McLeod said about SMU, he said, do you imagine a Grey Cup game in SMU? It's impossible. It could never happen. And he's so right. If you're a new owner of the CFL 10th franchise, and it happens to be the Lang Schooners, which I don't think it will because of what I explained earlier, okay? You need a location where you can put in, okay, all the necessary amenities, skyboxes, permanent washrooms and concessions, right? And dress rooms, and they need all kinds of, what they need, just look at the footprint of what they need for CFL Model Stadium. You can't have just a pop-up thing. You can't have portable wash. You can't have that. You have to have permanent washrooms, permanent concessions. You need an open concourse too. You need skyboxes. You need all the amenities to be viable, and you need at least 22,000 permanent seats, and expandable, okay, to up to 30,000. Similar to what, by the way, Hamilton. I gotta say, Hamilton, you're doing a fantastic job. I looked at the renderings of the Grey Cup, 31,000, and Mr. Young, you're doing it's fantastic. I was blown away by it. Check it out. You can check it out on his site and so forth. I'm just going to check something because I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, yeah, I checked all this stuff. Yeah, I did. I checked everything. Isn't that something? I scanned it pretty fast. So anyway, okay, I'm going to have lots of brochures at Touchdown Atlantic, lots of them. I'm going to have my paraphernalia and my new Spider CFL Red Zone rule with my hat, my new Spider CFL Red Zone rule dress-up jersey. You saw a mock-up of it. I showed you some photos of it. It's just being approved now, and hopefully it'll be approved, and I'm going to have it. I'm going to get two of them, one extra large and large, made up. And I just want to say, again, I just want to thank you all for my support. And I'm sorry I get rushed sometimes because I'm really worried, and things washed out here because it's really hard. Right now it's 1:45 Halifax time. It's really hard to set this up. Much harder than when I set up the corner set. This is much harder, and it seems to me, because of the harsh lighting, I don't get the sharper focus, okay, on the automatic focus, okay? But anyway, so it's very foggy, okay? Something like Halifax, that could be for the Touchdown Landing on July 22nd, 29th, we get a lot of fog, okay? But anyway, please approach me if you see me, and if I'm around downtown wearing my jersey before Touchdown Atlantic, if you see me at the game, please come up to me. I want to shake your hand, and I want to thank you for support, for watching my videos. And I'm sorry if I get on a rant sometimes. I'm sorry if I talk politics sometimes. I don't even call it politics anymore because I'm not a hypocrite. Actually, I actually voted for Justin Trudeau's father years ago. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't vote for parties. I vote for who I think can do the best job economically and the best man at the time. But you can be fooled, which I've been. But I'm not into this like hatefulness and bullying over, like wanting to have an opinion or what you believe in and so forth, and political or religion. I'm not like that. I just want good people around me, and I respect people's opinion and so forth, but you have to respect my opinion too, and then there's facts, that reveals the real truth. But anyway, we don't have to be cruel to people or hurt people or bully people, okay? But I speak it the way it is, and I am very, very disappointed in my city, and I'm very ashamed to be a Haligonian. But I still hope that you have a good time when you're here at Touchdown Atlantic at St. Mary's on July 29th. I know I'm on the 40-yard line on the main section, 10 rows up. If you want to find me, I'll have my jersey. Let's chant, we want Spiders CFL Red Zone rule. Let's get behind, okay, what the CFL needs and needs to do if they want to ever grow their fan base and fill their stadiums. And they need to get rid of the Canadian ratio. They need to break their guaranteed Canadian, their Canadian Association Union that's controlled majority by Canadian players. And by the way, they're the ones that want the one-year contracts as much as the American players too. And because there's now 30 Canadian players down in the NFL, playing the NFL, and they don't even show up at the combine, and they're not interested in being drafted by CFL teams because they want to go to the NFL. CFL to get rid of that draft, to get rid of the Canadian ratio, and go to a CFL open draft to draft and recruit the best available players without being handcuffed by a Canadian starter ratio and Canadian roster ratio. And that's what has to happen, and the CFL needs my Spiders CFL Red Zone mold. And if they do that, they're going to have a real product to sell. And the CFL stadiums will soar and roar. And you can imagine the diagram of my Spiders CFL Red Zone mold and the graphics. Okay, they could put in the money they can make on betting and the sponsorship tags and the graphics that they could use in the red zone, what they could do. And with a video game, it'd be fantastic. It'd be a lot more exciting to play a video game in my Spiders CFL Red Zone with the stupid little hash mark, ridiculous, gimmicky little rule that does nothing but make our game worse. But my Spiders CFL Red Zone Spiders CFL Red Zone will make our game a lot better and a lot more entertaining and a lot more exciting. That's full of drama and has an unpredictability or element to it as well in the red zone, and not only offensively but defensively as well. It'd be super exciting to watch. Okay, see you later. Spider, here comes Spiders CFL Red Zone. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.